Welcome to Mini-Modelog. This is a new thing I'm starting. So every so often, basically once a month, I've got my what have I bought this month video. And I've decided, because I've unboxed so many models now over the last sort of 5 or 6 months that the channel's been on, I've got so much to paint. So I'm going to do a painting video where I show you what I'm painting, what I'm up to, and the way I've done, how I've managed to get certain effects on certain models. So I recently got back into painting. I was around Chris's house with GBI Chris, and we just sat down painting. We were all a bit tired. We didn't really want a game, so we decided to paint instead. And I started some work on my brewers. So if you can see that, there we go. That's Stave. And I've obviously done just his tabard and his skin at the moment. I'm going to show you how I've done that skin. That's basically a covering of Bugman's Glow and then Agraxed. Now everyone's going to say, oh, Agrax. It's brilliant and I use it. And I'll be doing on top of that Acadian Flesh and then a Kislev Flesh. This is very much the way it's done on Games Workshop. And I learnt this from Warhammer TV. So I'll put a link down below for Warhammer TV. So I'm going to show you how I've done that. Unfortunately, I've got no Kislev Flesh with me, but I have got my Acadian Flesh tone. So I'll probably do my Acadian Flesh tone on this, but I've also got Boar to paint. So I'll probably start from scratch on Boar and do Bugman's Glow on Boar first. So we'll start with that. I've also got a couple of other things I'm going to paint for you, including I'm going to start with my Death Marshals. Now obviously the Death Marshals are here. I've obviously undercoated them black again, and I'm going to start doing basically their coats and what they wear. And I'm going to do that in a green, and you'll see what I'm going to do as I go. And I've also picked, for the flames, I'm going to do blue flames, so I'll show you how I'm going to attempt to do those. So let's get started. I think we'll start with a basic covering of Bugman's Glow on Boar. So I'm just going to use a standard brush for this, which is this one here, which is basically a starter brush. Now, I've obviously got that from the paint set that I reviewed, and I'm going to be using that. So let's get Bugman's Glow out and get started. Always make sure you give your paints a good shake before you start. I've obviously got a palette here, a range of different brushes, and I've also got 2 waters, and I use 2 waters for when I'm doing metallic things, because I'm going to do some metal stuff later in Lead Belcher. And the reason for that is so you don't get flecks of metal inside your standard paints, which you can do if you're not careful. I've obviously ended up with some Bugman's Glow on my thumb. So let's get started. So you take a little bit of the Bugman's Glow, put it on your palette, like that. And then a little bit of water, just to thin it down. So that's how about that thickness, and then just layer it on your model, like so. So what have I been up to gaming wise? So I suppose recently I haven't done much gaming due to work commitments and things like that. So at the moment my main key game I'm restarting in a way is Warhammer 40k, and I've got obviously some 40k stuff coming, because obviously I've discussed on my Gangs of Camorra stuff about turning it into a Dark Elf Eldar army. So I'm going to do that at some point. So at the moment I'm just covering the model with Bugman's Glow, sorry, all over it. So I'll do that all over the model there. That's just his back done. And if you don't feel that's a sufficient layer, you can always do another layer on top if you feel the black's coming through too much. So I'll just continue with that. So there we go. That's basically all the Bugman's Glow I want on him there. So it's main body. I'll now wait for that to dry and do an Agrax Earth shade to it. And then I'll go over again with Bugman's Glow. So I'm going to now do that as well. Put Bugman's Glow on the pig. So I'll do that now. And basically, this is just me showing you how I got doing the same technique that I'd used to do Stave's skin. So I'll just do that now as well. So there we go, that's the first sort of coating of Bugman's Glow on the pig as well. So that's how I first started doing the skin for Stave, and all I'm doing is 1 coat of Bugman's And if I feel I need another one, I'll do another one. And then I normally Agrax Earthshade it. So I'll move on to that in a moment. But I just thought I'd let you know that when I paint, I tend to do more than one type of model. So I've just done a skin on 2. I'm now going to move on and do probably a bit of work on one of these guys. Now obviously, these are the Death Marshals from the first box set I actually unboxed for you, which is the Guild's Judgment. So obviously they're still at a stage of just being undercoated. And what I'm going to do with these, I'm first going to do a single undercoat on top of the black undercoat of Caliban Green to begin with. So I'm going to start with that and do the coat all Caliban Green. So I'm going to do this on all 3 of them. So I'll just get started with this now. So I'll just pop Bugman's Glow away. Also make sure your pots are properly closed. If you don't make sure they're properly closed, they tend to dry out. That Bugman's Glow is obviously out of the paint set that I reviewed, so I'd bob that back in there. But that's the standard size pot and that you normally get. There's the Castellan Green, if I can get the, yeah, and that's Castellan Green there. Caliban Green, sorry, that I'm going to start with on these. So always give them a good shake, like I said before. And all I'm going to do is coat the entire coat in Caliban Green. So again, it's very similar to how I did the pig and how I did the other guy before. So a little bit on your, how I did boar. So a little bit of green on the palette. I usually take quite a bit of water and thin it down a little bit more, I think. So again, all I'm going to do is paint all of this dark green colour. Now obviously the dark green colour on top of the black is quite dark, which is what I'm after. And what I'll probably do is Nuln Oil on top of this to darken it a bit more. At the moment this is very not as dark as I want it. And that's basically what I'm trying to achieve on that model. Is just doing a really dark green at the moment. I'll then Nuln Oil that to get all the crevices darker and actually darken out the green as well. I won't go back over with that. My next colour after that will be Warpstone Glow and then a final highlight of Moot Green. But at the moment I'll do all the other 2 Death Marshals and all the other bits I need to do for that. So while I'm painting these Death Marshals, obviously my update is that with Malifaux I haven't played very much because I've been playing more 40k, but I've decided I want to paint my Malifaux up before then. So obviously this is a key thing to get done now. So after a little bit of time, I've done that on these 2 guys. So I've done the dark green on them, and then what I'll do then is do a Nuln Oil on top of that. So I'll just do that next. Of course, by now, the skin has dried on these guys. So I'm going to give these a shade of Agrax as well. So I'll give these 2 a shade of Agrax and do the shade of Nuln Oil for those. So I'll be back in a few minutes and I'll show you the results of that. So with these guys, I'm just going to Agrax right the way over the top of the model like this. And that's just going to pick out all the detail for me on all the skin. I was actually told recently not to be too shy with Agrax. It's fine to be put a lot of it on and quite aggressive with it. It's not a problem. Where before I used to put only very little amounts on just to pull out those details. Because you can always go back over with the Bugman's Glow afterwards if you're not happy with the coverage of the Agrax taking away the original colour. Obviously I learnt all this off the Warhammer TV, and I will put a link like I said before. They have a great set of videos on painting, and I use a lot of their tips to do the painting I do. So like I said, just Agrax the whole thing. Pretty much everywhere there's skin, bob on a bit more.
Once I've done that, I'll do the same on boar. And again, don't be shy. Get some agrax on your palette, bit of water, and just go for it. Getting every recess, getting all of his facial recesses and his muscles. I know what some are going to comment. They're going to say agrax making painters look great. It's there for a reason, and that's what I'm using it for. And that's basically how I got
that effect. So it's pretty much the same effect on the two models, and it brings out all the details in them.
I'll just bob them back down, and then we'll go back to our
first Death Marshal. So I've done the dark green, and it's not as dark as I wanted it. So in order to darken it again,
I'll get some Nuln Oil,
which is another shade, and I'll basically put Nuln Oil all over it, very much like I've just done with the skin. Obviously I'm showing you some different things today, but like I said at the start of the video, this is just me doing a bit of painting and showing you that I actually do paint. So hope you're enjoying it, and keep watching if you want to watch. If not, pop it on in the background and do something else, and I'll let you know when I'm actually doing something worth looking at. So I'll let me find detail. Get me starter brush back, give it a wash from the other shade, and go to town with Nuln Oil now. So same procedure as the agrax. Nuln Oil is a little bit darker, and I use it generally to darken out colours. There's no reason to be shy with it. Get your miniature and just all over it. All in the crevices. So it'll darken it, darken that shade. At first it looks like it's lightened it, because obviously there's now paint on it. Once it's dried, it'll darken that colour out. I always thought when I first did it, oh well, it's brightened it. No. If you wait till it dries, generally speaking, it will darken the shade you've put on. So there's the Nuln Oil done on those two. I've just got to wait for that to now dry. And obviously I'm now going to show you the next step with the skin on stave. So once you've done the Bugmans and once you've done the agrax, you will then move on taking your model and using this to go on top of it. So this will be your next layer paint, and basically you're looking at the larger areas of the skin like his muscles and whatnot, leaving the darker areas with the Bugman's Glow and the agrax in it. So I'm now going to start doing that, and I'll show you the finished result in just a few minutes. So simply take your model, and wherever there's a large area like that there, start to layer it up. Obviously watching all those crevices and whatnot that you don't want to get in. It's mainly the flatter areas, things like his top of his chest there and underneath his arm there. So just layer it up gradually. You don't want to be too quick with this. You want to make sure you get the areas you want to get done properly, because if you miss something you can go back, but obviously you don't want to go back a step by having to redo Bugman's Glow or redo the agrax. So there's like the first part of that done. So I'll do the rest of him and show you the rest of him in a few moments. Okay, so that's with the Cadian flesh tone done. I've lightly brushed over it, and you can see the darker patches where the dark stuff stay in to give that muscle tone structure. I need to get some Kislev flesh just to highlight a few more areas, but that is how I do skin. I mean, it's not brilliant. I'm not the best painter in the world. I hope you like what I've done, but I will pop down, like I said, the link down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will do some more in the future and just show you where my painting's up to. And I'll see you next time on Mini-Modelog.